Have you ever imagined what it would be like to step aboard a vessel reminiscent of the Titanic? Well, an Australian billionaire is betting that a considerable number of individuals captivated by the tragic story of the Titanic would like to experience just that, excluding the dreadful sinking. This billionaire, Clive Palmer of Brisbane, Australia, initiated a substantial project to recreate the Titanic, naming it Titanic 2, a perfect duplicate of the original vessel. The purpose of this ship is to offer you the opportunity to cruise around the world, in addition to following the classic route from Southampton to New York. Hence, we are eagerly anticipating its release. The organization recently provided an update stating that the trip will now depart from Dubai and arrive in Southampton. Doesn't that sound alluring? Soon, the Ship of Dreams, version 2, will set sail on the high seas. Now, who's constructing Titanic 2? And what is the price of a Titanic 2 cruise? Could a situation similar to what occurred with its predecessor happen again? Join us as we explore what we know about the return of this legendary vessel, Titanic 2. For many of us, even those who aren't particularly romantic, processing the sight of Jack's death and the inevitable sinking of the Titanic has been a challenge. However, there's good news to lift our spirits. A brand new Titanic 2 cruise is set to be released soon. Fans can relive the memories on screen in real life, and now you may hop on too. Billionaire Clive Palmer of Brisbane, Australia, established a new company in April 2012 called Blue Star Line, a playful nod to the original Titanic ship's owner, White Star Line. Palmer's goal is to construct a ship identical to the Titanic, aptly named Titanic 2. He hopes that those enchanted by the ship's tragic tale will desire to experience it again during its transatlantic voyage. The RMS Titanic encountered an iceberg off the North Atlantic coast of Newfoundland and sank in the early hours of April 15, 1912. More than 500 people out of a total of 2,240 perished in the crash. The tragic narrative of the RMS Titanic has become deeply embedded in popular culture as a warning against the dangers of arrogance, and it has been the subject of numerous books, articles, and films, including the 1997 feature film Titanic featuring Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. The intense rivalry between competing shipping firms in the early 20th century, specifically the White Star Line's struggle with the illustrious British company Cunard, gave rise to the Titanic. Cunard, with two exceptional ships, the Lusitania and the Mauretania, was engaged in a steamer-dominant struggle with the White Star Line. The launch of these Grand liners coincided with the sinking of the Lusitania, drawing the United States into World War I. The construction of the Titanic, the second of the Olympic-class liners, began on March 9th and took 2 years at the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, Ireland. Despite being declared practically unsinkable, the Titanic met its tragic fate on that fateful night in 1912. The construction of Titanic, the second of the 3 ocean liners, was a continuous process lasting for 2 years, starting in March 1909. This monumental task took place at the expansive Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, Ireland. The colossal hull of the RMS Titanic gracefully descended the slipways and entered the River Lagan in Belfast on May 31, 1911. It held the distinction of being the largest man-made object globally at that time, and the launch, attended by over 100,000 people, proceeded smoothly in just over 1 minute. Following the launch, the hull was swiftly transported to a massive fitting-out dock. Here, thousands of workers dedicated the better part of a year to erecting decks, designing opulent interiors, and installing the 29 enormous boilers that powered the 2 primary steam engines. Some theories suggested that the design, lauded as cutting-edge, might have been the downfall for Titanic. Features such as a double bottom and 15 watertight bulkhead compartments with electric watertight doors were prominent in the Olympic-class ships. Although these Olympic liners were declared practically unsinkable by Shipbuilder magazine, especially in an edition dedicated to them, the design had significant flaws. While the individual bulkheads were watertight, the walls separating them reached only a few feet above the waterline, allowing water to pour into one compartment from another, especially if the ship started to list or pitch forward. This flaw in the watertight compartment design significantly contributed to Titanic's sinking. The inadequacy of lifeboats on the Titanic was the second major safety breach, leading to the tragic loss of life. Despite having more lifeboats than required by the British Board of Trade, only 16 boats, including 4 Engelhart collapsibles, could accommodate 1,178 passengers. With a crew of about 900, Titanic could carry around 3,300 people, and even at full capacity, just one-third of the passengers could find a place in the lifeboats during an emergency evacuation. On April 10, 1912, the Titanic set sail on its maiden voyage from Southampton, England, heading for New York with 2,240 passengers and crew on board. The ship made stops in Cherbourg, France, and Queenstown, now known as Cove, Ireland. Notable dignitaries, celebrities, and high-ranking officials filled the cabins, making it the most renowned ship of its time. Despite its grandeur and ambition to provide the best facilities for third-class passengers, tragedy struck on April 14th. The Titanic received intermittent reports of ice, and an iceberg emerged directly ahead of the lookout at approximately 11:30 p.m. The ship appeared to brush along its side, sending ice shards scattering across the forward deck. Swift actions were taken to reverse the engines and steer the ship, averting a head-on collision with the iceberg. The watchers breathed a sigh of relief, unaware of the impending disaster that would unfold. Upon detecting no impact, unbeknownst to them, the iceberg concealed a sharp underwater protrusion that sliced a 300-foot hole in the ship's hull just below the waterline. As Captain Edward Smith and Thomas Andrews of Harland and Wolff surveyed the wreckage, 5 of the ship's compartments were already filling with water, and the vessel dangerously leaned downward, allowing water to flow from one bulkhead into the next. Following some quick calculations, Andrews estimated that Titanic might stay afloat for about 15 minutes, maybe even longer. Upon this assessment, the captain ordered the filling of the lifeboats, having previously instructed the wireless operator to seek assistance. The first lifeboat was lowered a little over an hour after the impact with the iceberg, initiating an incredibly chaotic and disorderly evacuation. Despite having a capacity of 65 passengers, only 20 were on board when it departed. Unfortunately, this became the standard in the frantic hours leading up to Titanic's sinking. Almost every lifeboat was sent out with an embarrassingly small number of people on board, some with as few as 10 occupants. Following the customary maritime protocol, the youngest and most vulnerable passengers boarded the boats first, and men were only allowed on board when no one else was present. However, due to the disorganized processes preventing them from reaching the boats, many casualties were children and women. Titanic defied Andrews' forecast and remained submerged for nearly 3 hours. Tremendous bravery and craven cowardice were on display during those hours, with countless human tragedies transpiring between the command to load the lifeboats and the ship's final plunge. Families were separated, women and children were split from their husbands, and brave individuals sacrificed their places to stay with loved ones or let someone more vulnerable escape. The final toll for those lost remains unclear due to technical constraints and the enormous size of the North Atlantic search area. Eventually, in 1985, the remains of the RMS Titanic were discovered by a multinational expedition led by the United States and France. The sunken vessel was located at a depth of around 13,000 feet, approximately 400 miles east of Newfoundland in the North Atlantic. Many of the ship's belongings, including jewelry, furniture, shoes, machinery, and more, are still intact. According to subsequent investigations, the wreckage is also in decent condition. Returning to the present, due to financial issues, the construction that was planned to start in late 2013 never materialized, and Palmer's initial goal to set sail was hindered in 2016. Reportedly, in the fall of 2018, designers initiated the development of a mock-up for the ocean liner and commenced wave testing. According to an interview with a Blue Star Line spokesperson by cruise critics, the company is currently in discussions with shipbuilders regarding construction contracts. Once these negotiations are finalized, the firm will disclose the chosen shipbuilder for Titanic II and announce the anticipated launch date. Reportedly priced at around $500 million, the reconstructed ocean ship will preserve the original layout to accommodate 2,400 guests and 900 employees. The revamped vessel will boast adequate lifeboats and life vests for everyone, along with contemporary navigational aids and a larger hull to enhance stability. In terms of architecture, interiors, and high-end fittings, the design closely mirrors that of the original Titanic. Identical first, second, and third-class options will also be provided. The new ship is set to transport people from Southampton, England, to New York City, following the same transatlantic route as the original Titanic. Some sources suggest that the maiden voyage will be from Dubai to Southampton before reaching New York City, faithfully following Titanic's original schedule. Announcing the resumption of work on the vessel in November 2018, Clive Palmer disclosed that Tilburg Design, a marine architectural and design firm based in Sweden, would be responsible for realizing his ambitious concept. Titanic II's official ship management services partner, V. Ship's Leisure, was appointed by Blue Star Line in December. V. Ship's Leisure will provide technical and hotel operations support during the ship's construction. As of now, Titanic II is not available for reservations, but Blue Star Line has expressed its intention to have the ship ready for its maiden transatlantic voyage in the near future. Although specific prices have not been disclosed, they are anticipated to surpass those of 1912. During that era, third-class staterooms cost approximately $40, first-class berths were $150, and the four-parlor suites were $4,350. Many have dreamt of sailing on Titanic II, drawn to the mystery, intrigue, and respect associated with the original Titanic, which Palmer fondly refers to as the ship of dreams. However, it wouldn't be surprising if a significant number of Titanic II passengers are also eager to recreate Jack Dawson's iconic scene from the film, proclaiming, "I'm the king of the world," from the ship's bow. Additionally, China is soon expected to have access to another Titanic replica, launching sooner than anticipated and bearing a striking resemblance to the one produced by Blue Star Line, creating healthy competition. Despite being named the Romandizia Titanic, the Chinese counterpart will be permanently docked in the Qizheng River in southwestern China and won't have the ability to move. China's theme park sector is witnessing expansion, and the latest addition is a life-sized replica of the tragic ship. This has ignited a significant debate. Su Xiaojun, a wealthy Chinese investor and an avid admirer of both the ship and the movie, has expressed his passion for the Titanic project. According to the AFP news agency, Su announced several years ago that he would fund a full-scale replica of the doomed ship to ensure that people remember the Titanic. The 850-foot ship will soon be open to the public as the main attraction of the Romandizia theme park in Sichuan Province, China. Although the yacht isn't seaworthy and will be docked in a river, Su claims that the running steam engine will give tourists the impression of truly being at sea. From the cabins to the door handles, the replica ship aims to offer a realistic experience of the Titanic's limited travel options. The theme park in China's Sichuan province plans to feature the ship as its main attraction. However, critics of the Titanic project have expressed concerns, arguing that it is heartless to commercialize a tragedy involving the loss of life. Attendees at a 2017 British Titanic Society conference disapproved of the concept brought up by the Chinese investor. John Lenz, whose father was a steward on the original ship, was mentioned, with Lenz stating, "If he knew this was being replicated, I think he'd be turning in his grave." Despite initial concerns, Su Xiaojun's team assured Titanic enthusiasts that their worries would be taken into consideration. According to David Scott Bedard of the Society, these concerns have been addressed to the best of their knowledge. While the ship is still in the construction phase, Su is banking on the possibility of attracting as many as 5 million tourists to the Titanic attraction at the theme park to justify its astronomical price tag of $135 million. Expressing his hope that the ship will endure for centuries, Su envisions it being a lasting symbol. However, some worry that it might face a fate similar to the 2008 USS Enterprise replica, built at a cost of more than $118 million, which was abandoned shortly after its debut. Despite potential concerns, taking in the Titanic sentiments through this static voyage is undoubtedly a unique experience for those who visit the theme park.